to spend about 20 minutes giving my perspective. I deal with CISOs, HR staff on a day-to-day basis, and they approach me when they are looking to expand the team, when they're looking to recruit for security. I've been in recruitment now since graduating, and I'm a lot older than I look, I've been told. So don't be fooled. I first started off in IT recruitment. I placed developers of ancient languages now, and coders and first to third line support. I started moving into architects and project managers. I then moved into operational risk, market risk, and liquidity risk. So I think that puts me at a nice position to then move into security, and I've been in security now for roughly about 5 years. Not only do I assist CISOs in the hiring requirements, but the organisation I work for, we're nicely positioned to give advice as to how much they should be paying their people. And they don't only come to me for individuals, they come to me for teams, they come to me for projects that they are looking to run. And I'm able to advise them as to how much their competitors are paying their people. So I'm on your side here. I try and get more money as much as possible to make sure it's a market rate. I also deal with contract and permanent positions. Primarily I do deal with contract now, but we have a team of 8 individuals, and most of them, the permanent area is our largest area. Now, okay, we hear a lot about skill shortages in recruitment, and it's something I've been hearing from the very beginning. But what does that actually mean? To me, the skill shortages is a paradox. I still have a lot of people on my books, and a lot of people in Barclay Simpson books that are out of work and that are looking for positions. So if there's up to 1.5 million vacant jobs, as Steve said, and the figure I actually heard was 2 million by the end of 2017. So why are these people still out of work now? Why I find that a paradox is because I feel it's still highly competitive. So why I'm here is to hopefully give you the tools to rise above that and to really stand out from your competition. Because just because there are skill shortages, it doesn't mean that they'll just take anyone. And especially with no or little experience, some of the questions I'm asked is, help me, how can I help? And in all honesty, one of the issues I'm going to go over here is when a recruiter can help. When I can help is when you have some experience, because hiring managers don't often tend to pay recruitment consultants a fee to find people with little or no experience, okay? So what I'm going to impart here, hopefully, with some of your questions and answers, should give you enough tools to really benefit that. Okay, now 76% of CISOs interviewed on our survey felt that the government and other organizations are not doing enough to find enough talent, which will lead to further skills shortages. So one of the reasons we are here. Now, the key aspect when they refer to skill shortages from the individuals I speak to, the hiring managers as well, is actually, ironically, it's not the technical aspects. It's not the case of this person doesn't know this particular scene tool. It's the ability to translate it to the business. It's the communication skills, it's the commercial acumen. And I'm going off the assumption here that maybe some of you guys might end up in a commercial organization as opposed to a non-profit organization or academia. When HR or a CISO individuals interviews an individual, they're not necessarily always interested in whether they can use this particular tool, but can you translate what you do on a day-to-day basis to the business? What does that mean to the business? I was speaking to a security architect from our Midlands bank, and one of the things he was boasting about is, I never have any funding issues whatsoever. No one really believed him. Yeah, all the hiring I want. You know, I speak to the board on a regular basis. I asked them, how did you get here? I said, it's quite funny, I just ran a live hack in the boardroom. Had some popcorn, and I put it in layman's terms. Because now he was able to bridge the gap between what that means to the business, because in a lot of situations it is just terminology and it is just jargon to them. So to be able to translate it to the business, and more importantly to the commercial means, get that you're going to lose money, you're going to lose investment, and it's going to be a reputational risk. So everything you do on a day-to-day basis, you have to relate that to the business. So that's what they mean. That's one of the main areas of skills shortages. Don't get me wrong, you still need to be technical, but at the same time, you need to have a commercial acumen. So I just stress that over and over again. Now, that said, there are certain industry sectors that are suffering more skills shortages than others. Now, cloud security, we've seen our vacancies rise by, I think in the last 2 years, rise by 64%, both in contract and permanent, off the back of cloud security. Now, cloud security, or rather, cloud implementation, rather, security comes off the back of that. Cloud implementation is an area that's affected every single industry sector at different times. First, it started off with the financial services. We started seeing tweaks of that. What does that mean? It spread to commerce, and now we're seeing even non-for-profit organizations move to the cloud infrastructure. Now, the vacancies we're seeing there primarily are of a technical nature. Now, it's important to understand we deal with technical positions such as architects, but you also deal with non-technical positions such as security auditors, security assurance, individuals that can speak to different parts of the business and really maintain a good, strong framework within there. Now, a huge area that I'm hoping you guys know about, and if you don't know, definitely you should know, is data protection regulation. Now, we are going to see a huge drive and work from GDPR. Now, I'm just going to read a few key components. In a nutshell, it's going to come in, it is European EU legislation that Brexit or no Brexit, it still affects us at this point of time, okay? So it comes into effect on the 25th of May 2018. So key components include enhanced data subject rights, including the right to be forgotten and the right of data portability, the appointment of a designated data protection officer in certain circumstances, the reporting of data breaches to the data protection authorities within 72 hours, enhanced accountability, obligations, and the requirement to implement privacy by design and by default, and up to, or actually it's not up to standard, 4% of companies' annual global turnover in cases of a breach. We saw the recent Tesco bank breach, always a breach every week, right, every few days, and that was 40,000 accounts, or 40,000 accounts that were leaked. Now, if GDPR had been implemented by now, that would cost them £1.9 billion, and that's not even talking about the fines on top of that. So the reason I bring this up is to have this knowledge and to walk into an interview, to apply for a position, to speak to the board, having this knowledge and the ability to break that down into cash, it speaks volumes. So one of the ways to stand apart from your competition and to succeed in this environment, an interview environment, is obviously to relate it back to the commercial aspects, because usually that's why you're in there in the first place. So just please bear that in mind. Now, some of you might be thinking, I'm not interested in data protection, I don't want to be a data protection officer, I'm a techie. That's fine, but we're going to see roles from cryptographers to coders to SIEM specialists to pen testers, all driven by this legislation. So it's not a case of you don't need to care about data protection in regards to that. You don't need to care about the legislation, because you're going to get roles off the back of that, and we're going to see further skill shortages off the back of that. So certainly do your very best to take advantage of that. I'm not very good with PowerPoint slides, I must admit, so I don't have that many slides, so you have to forgive me. Now, I did mention that there are certain industries in which there are greater skill shortages than others. Now, we have 2 to 3 years ago, we did a lot of work on PCI DSS, and we still do a lot of work on that currently. Now, financial services, does everyone know what PCI DSS is?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Now, financial services spearheaded that, even though, as long as you use a card, retail, Dyson, Argos, every firm that takes a card needs to be PCI DSS compliant, but the financial services spearheaded that. And some of the features in this, to build and maintain a secure network, protect cardholder data, again, data privacy. And we saw 56% of roles, increase in roles, but in both permanent and temporary positions. Now, we did carry out a survey. We did ask applicants in terms of questions they were asked in the interview. And in the case of 76% of the cases, there was, let's just say there was a role for a pen tester on the back of this. They were asked commercial questions in terms of what they knew about PCI DSS, regards to the version and so forth. So it's obviously very important. In the IoT is huge. We're going to see more work than IoT. We've anticipated 70% increase over the next few years, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. And that's not just within roles we have seen, but roles that are advertised within the UK alone. Now, that has mainly affected commerce and commercial firms out there. Now, we've got a very interesting quote here from SE Magazine. Given the growth in demand for IoT knowledge, it's encouraging to see demand for cybersecurity skills also on the increase, showing that organizations appreciate the need to secure the data they collect. As more IoT projects go live, keeping these secure is vital to ensure consumer confidence in their usage, protecting confidential data and making them a success. And the reason I find that quote particularly interesting is what is driving IoT. Profit is driving IoT. It's the ability to be better than their competitors. It's the ability for organizations to have a competitive edge. And that's not to be forgotten. So that's certainly a huge growth area. Energy, done a lot of work, particularly with SCADA. Energy slightly different. Energy and oil and gas organizations, because the safety runs through the DNA. It's one of the few industries where any breach will have a direct loss of life, direct. I'd rather, if I was a CISO in a bank, I'd rather have a breach in the bank as opposed to a breach in a oil and gas company, or a particular water company that I do recruit for, because some of these stories we hear there are extremely worrying, but some of them I cannot disclose to you because we have signed non-disclosure agreements. Okay, I am going to talk about how to stand out, okay? It's really important, as I said before, with all the skills shortages, it's very competitive out there. How I think that you should be standing out is market intelligence. Some of the market intelligence I've been able to share with you at the moment, but there's thousands and thousands of pages of literature out there. Now, when I first got into security, it's important for me as a recruiter to know what's out there, for me to stand apart from my competitors. These are a number of the links that a number of the firms that I'm associated with, not only in terms of speaking, but in terms of having literature from. Now, some of these are free, some of these you need to pay, but I'm not encouraging you to necessarily pay for exhibition or to pay for a conference. Just look at the titles of the conference. Years ago, I used to see cloud security, and that tells me cloud security is going to be big. IoT, that tells me IoT is going to be big. Data protection, what does that actually mean? That tells me it's going to be big. So it's a case of taking advantage of all of this and again using this to your full advantage. Now, the reason I say that also, to me it's all about having a niche. Now you can take a general perspective to say I'm a security professional, or you can start now and think, you know what, this area interests me. So I'm going to create blogs on it, I'm going to create a YouTube channel on it, I'm going to tweet responses to it, I'm going to like other tweets, and I'm going to start following some individuals who are specialists within this area. Now, I see almost the difference between a GP and a heart surgeon, if you will, okay? A heart surgeon typically tends to move a little bit quicker and get a little bit further within his or her career. So you could in fact start now, but there's nothing wrong with taking the generalist approach if you're not exactly sure where you want to go. So keep that in mind. Now, the daddy of them all is LinkedIn. Has everyone here got a LinkedIn profile? Yeah, anyone not got a LinkedIn profile? It's name and shame. All right, good. I say good because this is one of the aspects I'd like to talk through. Now, a lot of people, first off, I've placed a number of security professionals that are not on LinkedIn because they are true security, they're undercover. No LinkedIn, no Facebook, nothing. I haven't got Facebook. The only reason I've got LinkedIn is because of work. But I think those days are gone effectively. If you don't have a LinkedIn account, you really should, because guess who's filtering the CVs sometimes? It's not a security professional, it's HR. And a lot of the times they will type your name in and try and gather as much information as possible from you. And these guys that are filtering your CV, they're not necessarily technical. So you need to put things in layman's terms. Now, let's have a look at LinkedIn. As you see, this is a professional photo. I try and pretend to be professional where possible. It's not necessary to be suited and booted if that's not you, okay? It is important to have a photo within there. 70% of you're going to get 70% higher response rate if you do have a photograph within there. Now, some of the things I'm going to speak about seem quite semantic, if you will. However, it's the small details that count, especially if you're competing, which you are. Background photo, you can't really see that in this one. Have a background photo in there. Careful of make sure it's not copyrighted, but I like something technical. It's a pity you're not able to see the full one. I like it blue, technical, and it looks sci-fi orientated anyway. Okay, now in the summary section, you may not have any direct work experience, but I would put your academics, parts of your module that if you do want to focus on IoT for Internet of Things, for example, write about a dissertation, write about certain blogs within there, because don't forget Google optimization as well, so it will increase your profile depending on where you want to go. In the title, don't care if you're a student, you have to put security in there. Student studying information security or engineering security, computer science security, have to put security within there. Now, one of the most important parts is to join a number of relevant groups. There are thousands of groups on security within LinkedIn, technology risk groups, data protection groups, but try and join the groups with the highest numbers, okay? This way, it allows you to have access to more connections, okay? So what becomes a third connection then moves to a second connection, and it's easier for you to connect to them. Sometimes it's just a case of not what you know, who you know, okay? So take full advantage of that. In experience, you may not have any experience. I mean, I worked in a bar when I was studying. I wouldn't put that in the LinkedIn profile. I put that in your CV, but don't put that in your LinkedIn profile. You can put your academics here in terms of what you're studying in university. Any voluntary work you've done in relation to security, put that within there, but keep it as relevant as possible. Your LinkedIn profile should be a bridge of who you are and who you want to be without plagiarizing or without lying, because this is what people are looking at now as well as your CV, okay? Please bear that in mind. And post things on the groups. Like things on the groups. It's a case of bringing your name out there as much as possible, and network at events like these. The previous slides I took you to show networking events as well as publications. Many of these are free. I don't like paying for networking events. Many of them are free. There are different individuals you can meet and ask them, is your firm recruiting? How do I get into your firm? And if you don't ask, you don't get. Even if you're quite introvert, I think sometimes you just need to just be yourself. Right, you're in. Found that job you're looking for. What happens next? Please remember what I say. A lot of the aspects of this to succeed in your role are non-academics. To succeed in your role, it's to keep in mind the commercial aspects of what you do on a day-to-day basis. The person interviewing you often is not the CISO. The person interviewing you is HR. They care about algorithms and C#. They don't care about coding languages. What they care about is what you do on a daily basis. Can you translate that to the requirements of the business? Okay, so keep that in mind. And also, I've been fortunate enough to help a number of graduates get into a role, and once they're in, tell them the journey's just started. And what I mean by that, is that get involved in projects while you're in there, depending on how far you want to advance your career, okay? It's good to find a sponsor, preferably a senior sponsor within there, but get involved in a number of different projects. Every project out there needs a security specialist within there, so it's a case of volunteering, put your hand up. The only reason I put this slide is because I wanted to get a Star Trek reference there. And it's one of my favorite slides. You should see the recruiter one. So you're in there now. Yeah, it's going to be hard work, but I did speak to Cecil just yesterday of a manufacturing firm, and he was going on and on and on about a graduate that just started there. On a rotation screen, 4 months. She's there, she's there, she's there. And what he meant by that is that her ability to liaise with the business, to really educate the business as to security, nothing about her technical ability whatsoever. So just please bear that in mind, okay? It is a people-orientated position as well as, don't get me wrong, we do have our technical skills, but the days where security and IT sat here and the business sat here, those days are over, okay? It is a security, if not done right, is an operational risk, and it's a global risk. Now, my lowest paid contractor is on £400 a day. My highest paid contractor is on £1,600 a day, okay? Now, that guy, there's something special about that guy. He has the ability to manage stakeholders in a very forthright way, but his degree was a very technical individual, but he took the time out to work on his relationship building skills, his stakeholder management skills, and as a result, he is where he is at the moment, and he's not particularly unique. So the point I'm trying to make is if you are interested in rising the ranks, as well as the certifications, as well as the academic side of things, please bear in mind the commercial aspects of things as well.